So, Wonder Woman, 1984.
Yeah, we were 2 when this was filmed.
Okay, so anyway, roll credits.
What? What? I gotta throw some kind of dad joke out there.
You don't have to. And also,
I
you're
do.
not a dad,
It's
so
bred.
it's not even like it's a prerequisite.
It's bred into. I know. But if I'm never a dad, I still got to get some dad jokes out. I mean,
Well,
right?
no, they're proprietary to dads. That's why they're called dad jokes.
I mean, I got the seeds in me. You know, I got the halflings.
Oh, if you haven't roll the credits now.
No. Credits are already rolled. That stays in there. That's all for you, my friend.
And for the rest of the Geek Mancers, who are also going to say things like, I always forget how gross he is. Every once in a while, he pulls out a grosser, and it's not good.
I think that's gross. You really have not seen anything or heard anything at all.
It is pretty gross. Your wording is pretty gross. You've got the seeds in you, the halflings. Like, what's the matter with you?
Well, quite a bit, I guess. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Anyway, so like I said before, the first roll of credits, not after the second one.
Right.
I'm hoping for 2, just get that last 2 minutes out of here. But anyway. We are doing Wonder Woman 1984.
That is what we're doing.
Yep. I'll do it real quick. Wasn't a lot. So we've got directed by Patty Jenkins.
Yep. A triumphant return by Patty Jenkins.
Okay. Triumphant is a little strong, but okay. All right. It's a return.
It's a return.
It's written by Patty Jenkins, Jeff Johns, Dave Callahan.
Yep.
And you can tell it's written by 3 different people.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Okay, and I'll do this real quick. So starring Gal Gadot returning as Wonder Woman or Diana Prince. Chris Pine also returns as Steve Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen Wiig is Barbara Minerva and Cheetah. Pedro Pascal is Maxwell Lorenzano, or Max Lord, as he is commonly referred to.
Yep.
We've got Robin White as Antiope, Connie Nielsen as Hippolyta, Lily Aspel again as young Diana, and we've got Linda Carter playing Asperia.
Yes.
And then a whole bunch of other people with varying degrees. I forgot to get the kid's name.
And
Max's son.
If you didn't know this Camcast has spoilers, well, I mean, Chris just dropped the end credit right on you right there.
Yep. Well, actually, I didn't.
That.
I just said this person was in the movie.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a spoiler. No. I mean,
if you didn't watch the movie, you wouldn't know that it was at the end.
That's true.
Like literally at the end credits. You would not know that.
But now they do, because I told them.
That's right. So between the two of us.
We fucked up.
We spoiled. We didn't fuck up.
We didn't fuck up. That's what we do. It's a spoiler cast.
But yes, it is a spoiler cast. Spoilers galore. Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to do likes first or dislikes first?
I don't know. What do you feel like? I feel like it'd be, for mine, it's probably better if we go through the likes, because some of the dislikes also feed off of the likes.
Okay, that's fair. All right. So then, what's your first like?
My first like, the entire opening sequence. Mwah! Amazing. Beautiful. I want an entire movie set on the island.
Well, apparently we're getting it.
Apparently we are. I'm actually really excited for that after this opening sequence.
Yeah. I actually had that same feeling in the original Wonder Woman, where I was like, I could watch a whole movie set on Themyscira.
Yeah.
And it could be set with young Diana or not at all. She doesn't even have to be on there. I think it could work either way.
I'd be good with either or. Though, I mean, this young actress that's come back again for the sequel, is awesome. So if she returns and she's in the spin-off movie, I'm down.
If they do the spin-off movie and it's set when Diana's a child, then wholeheartedly would love for Lily Aspel to come back.
Yeah,
that would be great.
I'm kind of expecting the spin-off to take place in between the first and second Wonder Woman when she's gone.
That's what I'm kind of thinking too. I have that feeling.
But nevertheless, hands down, my number one like of the movie.
Okay, all right, that's on my like list because again, like you said, it's awesome. Yep. So I had a particular order, but because I let you go first, we're gonna jump ahead for me.
Okay.
But I too loved the opening flashback on Themyscira. What I liked was that it it was still a learning thing. It wasn't just a way to get the Amazons in there and show them being all Amazonian, which I'm sure is a word, or even like further push that Themyscira movie. What I liked was that it actually had a young Diana cheating to win, and then like getting called out on it and being said, hey, like essentially cheaters never win. So even though you won, yes, you won, but you cheated. And that's not the same, and it's not good. And when you're old enough, you'll understand this. Because, like, young Diana is furious. Like, she can't understand why her mom would do this. She's like, are you kidding me? So I loved that there was a message in that, and you can kind of get a feel for how this is going to play out later on in the movie. You don't know exactly how it's going to do it, but you're like, okay, I can kind of see where that's coming from.
For sure.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
On the opening sequence? No.
Okay. What's your next like?
What was it, like 5 minutes, the opening sequence?
Yeah, about that. 5 to 8 minutes.
It's a solid 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. It was a very thrilling opening.
When it opened with that, I was like, oh man, if the movie keeps this up 2.5 hours, I'm down. It didn't.
I'm glad it opened with that. I actually would have been disappointed if it didn't open like that.
Yeah, and apparently Patty Jenkins had to fight for that opening. Warner didn't want it. So, shows you what they know.
Yeah, well, you can see that she's lost a couple of battles in this movie, though.
Yeah, unfortunately. Number 2, Gal, again, an amazing Wonder Woman. Word for word, what I wrote down. There's a beautiful humanity that she brings to the character, even though she's a demigod. And her expressions during the White House scene, just that pain, like, I can't believe this is happening. Amazing. Like, probably the best acting I've ever seen from her in that sequence right there.
Yeah. I have to agree. My next like is actually one big one, but luckily you brought up Gal Gadot because my first major like is the cast itself.
Yeah, I put
the main cast in this movie is absolutely awesome. And I agree with Gal Gadot. She's absolutely awesome in this role. She does definitely seem to get the character, but also has the talent to bring this character to life. Like, and there's scenes where she's like strong. Then there's scenes where she's empathetic. There's scenes where she's even like smart and capable and also vulnerable. And like you said too, like just almost like heartbroken that the world is becoming the way it is because of Max Lord and things we'll touch upon when we touch upon it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I got huge Superman vibes from watching this movie because like ultimately she just wants to help people. That's like all Superman, she wants to do is
Superman in general or the Christopher Reeve first movie?
Just Superman in general.
Okay.
Superman in general. If I would have said Superman the motion picture or a Superman movie, sorry, I didn't specify. But like I got that sense that just like, in the best versions of Superman, he's literally just a guy that wants to help people. He has gifts and he is going to use those gifts to help people as best he can. And he is going to do whatever he can to help everyone. He doesn't want to settle for saving one or two. He's going to try and save everyone, even the bad guys. And I think I said this to you the other day. His whole thing is there's always a way. There's always a way to save everybody, and he's Superman, so he's going to do it. So the end sequence, I thought, was awesome, and like there was a couple of parts in this movie where I was like, man, I think like Patty Jenkins, if she was able to do what she wanted to, she could come out with a really good Superman movie, really good.
Yeah.
Hopefully with Henry Cavill, but we'll see what happens. We don't know.
I mean, a lot of that could be the writing too, right? Like Jeff Johns did help on this, and Jeff Johns has written Superman, so it could be a little bit of influence.
Yeah. Also, Chris Pine, just great. I loved him in Wonder Woman. I love him in this one. His actual role in this movie is also a minus for me, but I'll get to that. He actually reminded me a lot of, remember in Superman Returns, Perry White's son, Richard, played by James Marsden?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember saying, like, I always felt like James Marsden's character, Richard White, was literally like a human version of Superman. Right. You know, he was a great guy. He wanted to help out. He was a good dad. He could fly a helicopter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was, and I got those vibes from Steve Trevor this time around because, again, like, he's smart, he's confident, but at the same time, there's no male ego involved. He helps out whenever he can, but has absolutely no problem deferring to Wonder Woman, you know, and literally just being like, back off, like, no questions asked, just, you got this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And never, like, questions his own masculinity in doing so. It's just, that's just how it is. And I thought that was very refreshing to see that. And it's beneficial to show this dynamic so that, like, young boys, young girls, teenagers, hell, even older guys like me and older women, you know, can see that and go, you know, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved that. Any thoughts on Steve Trevor, Chris Pine?
Yeah. Actually, I wrote down all the cast separately here. So while you're touching on Steve, I will hop on into. I loved Chris Pine in the first movie. So I was kind of on the fence when they announced he was coming back because I was like excited to see him again. But at the same time, I was like, it was such a great ending to his character too. Like, it was sad, but it was such a great way for him to go out on the first, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So I kind of felt that same way throughout this. Like, the whole time he was there, I was like, I'm really happy he's here. But I still had that in the back of my mind, like, but kind of takes away a little bit from the first in a way. And so, like, Steve Trevor being in this again is both a plus and a negative. I really touch on the negatives.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I was happy to see him.
Yeah, his chemistry with Gal's amazing, for one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're so great together. And I really enjoyed seeing that fish out of water trope flip
this
time.
Yeah.
You know, like, first one, she's going to London and she's all like, what is all this?
What is happening?
He's in the 80s. He's looking at a garbage can like it's a piece of art, and it's freaking hilarious.
But I like that his was more like amazement and wonderment at how more advanced humanity got within the 80 years or 40 years in between. 40 years in between.
The first one was the 20s, right? Yeah, so.
Or 20s?
Was it in the 20s?
I thought it was World War II.
It was World War I.
Oh, if it's World War I, then it's 20s.
Yeah. So
anyway, so within 80 years, or 60 years, these advancements happen. So he's like, oh man, and like that scene where they go to the museum, and he sees all the old planes, NASA. They go to NASA. That's right. When they go to NASA, and he's literally like just this 5-year-old kid that's like, all I've ever wanted to do was fly and go to space, and now people are in space. Like, that's it. Like, he's just, this is so great. I was like, man, this is so awesome.
And it gave
us I loved that.
So many great pieces of dialogue too. You know, like him talking about the parachute pants. Like, does everyone parachute now? Like, what's going on? He's got the fanny pack, and then then finding out
it gets to the shoes.
Yeah,
when it gets to the shoes, and he's just like, I'm keeping the shoes. She's like, you can keep the shoes. He's like, yes. It's like, man, that's awesome. I do have to say that I did actually like how he was brought back. even though it does lead into my minus. I
Yeah.
am like, how they brought him back was good, and it served a purpose in the story, and it made sense, and it wasn't just like, okay, all right.
Yeah, because I mean, like I'm gonna touch on we will touch on the minuses, but I mean, at the same time, even though that minus was there in the back of my mind the whole time we're watching it, I was happy in the end that she got a proper closure with them. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
I feel like in the third one, when it will happen, she's gonna be like, good, like everything is good. Like I got my closure with my loved one.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. 100%. And yeah, like I do love that closure, and we'll touch upon that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Next up is Kristen Wiig, who was absolutely fantastic once she made her wish. The second she made her wish, and you know what, I'll say it right now. Ultimately, Steve Trevor comes back because there's a dreamstone in play, and Diana accidentally wishes him into existence. Yeah. Much in the same way that Kristen Wiig inadvertently wishes herself to be like Diana.
Yeah.
That's her first wish.
Was just be a confident, sexy woman, not knowing that all this power and everything was going to come with it.
Right, exactly. But when that happens and the switch happens and all of a sudden she's starting to realize that she's different and people are reacting to her differently, that's when I'm like, okay, all right. Like I'm not saying that I never thought Kristen Wiig could act. I knew she could act, but the first inklings of her character is the same Kristen Wiig in most of her movies.
Yes.
That awkward, nerdy girl who, strangely enough, is not considered attractive, even though she is attractive.
Yeah. Throw some glasses on her, she'll drop her papers.
That old movie trope, that oldest movie trope of all time. You get like, what was it? She's All That. Robin Cook, is that her name?
Robin Cook?
Rachel
Lee Cook.
Rachel Lee Cook, yes. Rachel Lee Cook, put glasses on her. The whole school thinks she's ugly. What the fuck is happening?
I was like,
but okay.
Whatever.
All right. But then the glasses come off. She like teases her hair a bit, literally wears the same thing she was wearing the night before, and everyone's fallen over. And that's when she starts to go, oh, okay. And that's when I start to perk up. And then, of course, when, she does a good job of being like, naive and lonely and smart and capable, but also unappreciated. But then when she makes the switch, the second wish to be an apex predator, which I loved that was the phrasing. And it wasn't just, oh, I want to be a cheetah. It was, I want to be an apex predator. Then she's like small, like strong, but also like malicious, and like there's jealousy to her as well. Like they did a really good job of making her like that twisted mirror for Diana.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, I really liked like she did the whole that I don't know, loser geeky vibe. It was obviously it was Kristen Wiig. It was very Kristen Wiig. Like you said, it's basically her and like the Ghostbusters remake from a couple of years ago there and everything. Or remake.
Yeah, or like Bridesmaids, like pretty much what she did from Bridesmaids on, with a couple of, like other variations of it.
I was really happy it wasn't to like the extremes of Jamie Foxx and Jim Carrey, like they could have made her like a real big loser.
I still like, I remember as a kid watching Batman Forever and being like, okay, I'm not sure why they did this take with Riddler, when he was like Edward Nygma in the suit and he was trying to be like Bruce Wayne and he was rich and Nygmatech, I was like, see, that's Riddler. But that weirdo Joker thing, or sorry, Jim Carrey thing, because I shouldn't say that. They cast Jim Carrey, so you're going to get Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey, especially at that point in his career.
And it was perfect at that time.
So it's like, you get what you get. But then for Jamie Foxx to essentially do the same thing, I was so glad that they didn't do that with Kristen Wiig. So glad.
Me too. So like, I mean, like her casting could have went either way.
Yep.
I love her as an actress, but when they announced her as being Cheetah, I was like, that is kind of weird. I'm trying to picture it, but it ended up being so great. Like again, chemistry. Her with Gal, amazing. Yep. And I wasn't sure how they would play off each other because they're totally different in like their crafts, like totally.
That's exactly it. Exactly it. Exactly it. Now we're down to for me, right up there with Gal Gadot's being the standout. Pedro Pascal. I know this is shocking. This is very shocking because he's not very well known or a good actor by any means, right? Just kidding. He's amazing.
I love Pedro.
But this like trumped up portrayal of Max Lord was perfect. It was so good.
I got to just say, like, it's really fucking weird that we're talking right now about his Max Lord and that trumped up version of Max Lord and Washington getting destroyed in this, and then it's fucking happening in the States right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's very it's so scary right now.
Yeah,
it's so scary. Like it's so crazy.
I hope
but
everyone
like
here's okay. But this fuck. I'm glad I'm on this side of the border right now.
Oh yeah, but it's coming. It's coming for us too. Like we've already got Trump supporters, loud Trump supporters in Alberta and places all around Canada. So it's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming. It's sad. It's sad. But like, and this was another same thing with Kristen Wiig where they announced Pedro Pascal, and I was like, okay, good. I'm all right with this. I think this is awesome. And then when they said that Max Lord was going to be like basically like Donald Trump, I was like, because it could go either way, right? Thankfully, it went perfectly. Like when it's when he does his first catchphrase, where it's like,
oh yeah, what do you say?
It's
something life can be better or something like that.
Life is good, but it can be better. I was like,
he does that
little, yeah. I was like, oh, that's
when
so
he did
good.
that to Gal the first time, she's like, oh, okay. Like nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like doesn't and also like, so he like, it's funny how they all of them are doing all these different things. So like, Max Lord is like overconfident, arrogant, but it also clearly is a mask for him being like no self-esteem. Like he is that like discarded little boy that we find out later on that his dad just didn't love him and wasn't there for him. So then you also get to see like the begging and the franticness. Like he's just like, it's kind of all over the place. And then ultimately when he gets in contact with the Dreamstone and then like crazily wishes to have all the powers of the Dreamstone, that blew me away.
Yeah. I was like, what the hell is he going to wish for? And then I wish to be the Dreamstone.
I was like, what the fuck? I was stunned by that. And then from there, you get to see him like feeling like he's all powerful, but at the same time, he's fucking falling apart. So there's that desperation in there. Yep. And like I said, frantic because he's got to figure out a way to continue doing what he's doing or ultimately become all powerful before this ultimately kills him.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just incredible. Just incredible. So the cast, top to bottom, amazing. The kid, I wish I mentioned Max's son. I wish I got his name down, but he was really good too.
Yeah, I mean, for what he was in there for. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much the main cast, though, eh?
Yep. What are your thoughts? You got anything else to add on any of the cast members?
I got nothing else to say about the cast members.
Okay.
All four were. I mean, I knew the two were going to be great. The other two were, I was like, well, I mean, Pedro's awesome. And how hard is it to really play Max Lord, right? But so Kristen Wiig was the big one where I was kind of like,
I agree. I agree. I will say though, just to reiterate, with the Trump version of Max Lord, I felt like there was a way that they could have it could have went either way.
Yeah.
Yes, Pedro Pascal's a really good actor, but I mean, if it wasn't written so well, because that's one of the things that I noticed the reviews don't touch upon too much, is that all these characters are actually written really well, and they're all fleshed out really well, and they all four of them have an actual arc, Yeah, some are bigger than others. Like obviously, Steve Trevor's arc is the smallest, but his informs Diana's arc, which which is really great too.
It took about a quarter of the film for him to come in, and then he leaves probably about a quarter before the end. So
right, yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's amazing. My next, one of my other things I really liked, I liked the flying scene where Diana learns from Steve how to fly. The visual looked great. And I also liked the swinging from lightning. I thought that was great. I remember when I saw that in the trailer.
The springing off the lightning, friggin' visually, and just everything. That's cool.
I wish there was more of that, actually.
Yeah.
Less flying and more of the swinging from lightning bolts. But either way, I liked that she used it, not, I wouldn't necessarily say to fly, but to actually glide and catch the wind currents and stuff. But either way, it looked awesome.
That's the way I kind of took it too, that she wasn't actually flying. She was learning how to glide from what he told her while they were flying.
Yeah, but it was awesome. And I also thought it just added to her repertoire, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. The visible jet stuff was kind of cool too.
Yeah, I actually almost didn't put that in there.
I wondered for years how my father hit that island. So I've been practicing, and she makes the jet vanish. I was like, oh my God, they fit the invisible jet into this.
I said the same thing. I went, I can't fucking believe they put the invisible jet in here.
And it wasn't just cheesy either. They figured out a way to make it not cheesy, which is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Because the concept is insane. Really.
Oh yeah. But I mean,
especially because in comic books and cartoons, they have to draw it where you see her in the cockpit, floating in air, essentially with a dotted line around the. So it's always been a ridiculous concept. If you think about it, yeah, it would literally just be a ship with you wouldn't see in it or anything like that. So
yeah.
But it was really cool that they did that. I thought that was really cool.
I was grinning when that came on, and then that of course leads into that gorgeous friggin' fireworks scene, just beautiful fireworks scene.
Yes, it was literally put in just for the visual. That scene was totally.
They could have cut that and probably
purely a visual thing. But next up, I loved the mall sequence. I thought it was a great way to reestablish Diana and show the 80s setting and 1-2 punch, and also that ultimately the robbery that she foiled introduces the Dreamstone, which starts the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think this is getting a bad rap online, this whole mall sequence. Everyone's bitching about it. I don't know why, because I thought it was a great way to open it. I thought the way she kind of glided like she was on ice was a little too extreme at times. But it was cool. She takes out the cameras. We're in the 80s. There's no cell phones or anything yet. There's nothing that she really has to worry about. Everyone's like, oh, she shushed the little girl. That's stupid. Everyone else can see her. I'm like, but what else is anyone going to say? Oh, there was some woman flying around the mall. You can't really.
Yeah. I mean, we're actually, the more you speak, the more we're getting into a minus. Because some of these scenes I have positives, but I also have negatives as well. But
I thought it was really cute. I thought it was a nice heartwarming moment that she had with that little girl. And it was,
I did too. I thought the whole thing was great.
Doing this to tell the girl to be quiet. I think she was just having a little moment with her, and that was it.
Yeah. I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was great. I loved the whole sequence. And like I said, it was a great way to reintroduce her to audiences, introduce the 80s setting, and then still establish that she's trying to do this on the down low.
Right.
Well, what's your next like?
I'm done with likes, man.
Ooh, okay. All right. So I'm gonna so I'm gonna go for a bit. Okay. You just chime in.
You
chime in. Chime in whenever.
Chime. Yeah.
I loved the foreshadowing of the gold eagle armor. Especially because when I saw it in promos and I was like, because I really like Wonder Woman's costume. I think her costume, the way that they've updated it in Batman v Superman, and then just tweaked it slightly for the rest of the movies is perfect. I like that it's battle armor, Yeah. So I was worried that we weren't going to see enough of that and it was going to be overshadowed by the golden armor. But like I said, so I thought the golden armor looked cool. I liked the foreshadowing right away. And even the fact that they talk about Asteria. Yeah, Asteria. They mention her and they foreshadow this stuff. And even just what was I going to say? Oh, the fact that you knew she was going to wear the armor, and it made sense, right? Like there was going to be some reason for her to wear the armor. So yeah, so I liked that. I liked how the Dreamstone gave you your wish, but it was at a price.
That I liked. That was cool.
That I thought was really cool. So like in Barbara's case, Kristen Wiig's character, she became more like Diana, but also started to lose all the goodness that was in her. That was her trade-off.
Yeah.
And that's what made her make the second wish to become the apex predator, because she was no longer the that dorky sidekick that she would have been had she never done this, right?
Right.
But I also and I like how that wasn't so heavy-handed. It was just you start to see Barbara changing mentally. But also with Diana, they subtly start to tease that she's losing her powers. I remember we got to the scene where they're going to break into Max Lord's place, and there's that big, huge padlock on the garage door.
And she couldn't, yeah.
And she's having a hard time breaking it off. And I remember right away, I went, oh, she's losing her powers. So they didn't flat out go, hey, guys, she's losing her powers. They subtly did it. And then once you get to the Saudi Arabia, I think that's where they went. The Middle Eastern country.
Yeah, it's like Egypt or something.
Oh, Egypt. Yes, that's right. So once I got to Egypt, then you really start to see that she's, losing her powers. But I love that was the trade-off.
Like, she's bleeding, and she's like, oh my God, I'm bleeding. Like,
yeah, she's like, what the hell? And like, even Steve Trevor's just like, what the fuck is happening? And I love that was the trade-off for her wishing Steve Trevor into existence.
Yeah.
Because when he does, because he does the same thing in the first movie as he does in this movie, where in the first movie, he's like, look, Diana, I have to go. I have to do this. I have to fly this plane and stop this. Otherwise, people are going to die. And she doesn't want him to go, but she realizes that he has to. Right? And this is the same thing. So while she now gets to say goodbye, and she gets to say, look, like, I enjoyed every second of it. He's like, I did too, but you know that I have to go. You have to renounce this wish. And I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And I like that there was the renouncing of the wish in play as well.
Yeah.
Two more, and then we'll get to the dislikes, okay?
Right on.
So, actually, you know what? I'll save the best for last. I loved Cheetah. I loved the way she looked.
Yep.
I loved the way she moved. I loved how she was a physical, intelligent, and emotional threat to Diana. Like, this was not her best friend, but it was definitely on the cusp. She liked her. She thought we could be friends. And then to have her immediately turn and then become so ruthless, I thought was so good. And that fight scene was really good. I wish it was a little bit more brightly lit,
Yes.
But it was
awesome. Like,
but so good. So good.
And like every step of Cheetah was awesome too. Like right from the start to the full transformation.
Yes. Yes.
But the full transformation is also my dislike, so we'll get to that.
Yep.
But amazing. Like I love the fact that creepy raper, she bumps into him again and beats the living shit out of him. Like, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was really, and you knew it was going to happen too. But I also liked how, like, she's really giving it to him, and then that bum that she always helps out and gives food and stuff is like, Barbara, like, what is happening? And then it's just like, what the hell did she say? Oh, she borrowed that line from Diana where she's just like, oh, it's just momentum. I shifted my hips and used his body weight against him. But he's like, what the hell? But anyway, no, that's not.
No, she says that to herself while she's kicking.
That's right.
Down.
That's right.
That's right. She just says something like, mind your own business. Or
yeah, that's right. Mind your own business. She says it to herself like, oh, Diana's right. It is just momentum and stuff. But ultimately, I really loved how Diana was able to save the world just by using the truth and appealing to the world. And this is where I really got strong Superman vibes. This is because, like, some of the best Superman fights are when he doesn't actually fist fight, but he appeals to the good nature of people as a whole.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. Like I loved when Max is just like you're not going to make me change my mind, and she's like, I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking to all of them. I thought that scene was awesome. Like that actually made the movie for me. If they didn't have that in there, I wouldn't have been as positive with this movie. But I really enjoyed that sequence.
I enjoyed that scene too. See, this is like I watched Wonder Woman 1 the night before, which was both a good thing and a bad thing for me. Because I as much as I enjoyed that scene, like that is an awesome scene, it's also like a downgrade from the Ares fight in a way.
It is.
You know
it is.
I mean?
I actually have an idea of how they could have fixed that. But we'll get that. We'll talk about that in my dislikes, because it is in my dislikes. But go on.
Okay. No, that was that.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah. So basically, for me, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. It's not a worthy sequel though. That's part of it. It's not as good as I would have liked it to be. So
Really,
like, for instance, I'll jump right in right away because I'm talking over you anyway. My first dislike is this movie felt rushed, which is weird because it had a lot of time to be tweaked and finessed. But like they literally did a focus group test, and the people were like, it's confusing, it doesn't make a lot of sense, it seems a little rushed. So it was weird that they didn't just go, okay, well, if we have to push it back anyway, why don't we tweak it and fine tune it a bit, right? And try to make this a little bit better movie. But they obviously didn't. And like I said, even though it had so much time in between the first movie, it kind of felt like it was made within 4 or 5 months, and they just kind of went, ugh.
No,
and that ties into the special effects too.
Definitely has a rush vibe to it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So where should we start here? Where should we start? Let me look what I got going on here. Special effects, yeah, you're right. There's a few moments in the movie where it's clear as day CGI.
Yeah, so like when you said originally, like at the beginning in the mall, where like there's that almost floating effect when she's jumping around and stuff, like the very apparent wire work.
Yeah.
So that was one of those where I was like, see, so my first 2 points kind of blend together because it's rushed. And then because of that, a lot of the special effects weren't as polished as they could have been, or should have been, I should say.
Because I mean, it's kind of it's when you compare it to the first Wonder Woman or Batman vs Superman or anything, like the visual effects in this aren't as good as those. And it's
I'll
crazy,
even reference,
like you said, like maybe they couldn't shoot anything during COVID, but I mean, this was supposed to come out in March and it got pushed to December. They had all kinds of fucking time to clean up the visual effects.
Exactly. So like I was saying, I'll even reference Justice League, which is like one of the least popular version in all of their movies, all the DC EU movies. So I'm not counting the Joker on this list because that's not part of it. But even in Justice League, it was way more polished than this. And some of that Joss Whedon stuff was very quick, very slapped together, very rushed. And you can see the change, when it's Snyder and when it's Whedon. But even still, that there's a lot of really the only shitty special effects that I particularly noticed was when you can tell that it was a reshot Superman.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Superman stuff's god awful in Justice League.
Yeah. So for this one, there's no excuse for it. Like there's literally no excuse. I wouldn't say there was an excuse for it in Justice League, but Justice League looked a lot nicer than this, and it shouldn't have.
Yeah. No, it should not. No, definitely.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at with the special effects, which unfortunately carries over through the course of the movie.
Yeah. See, where should I start on my list here? I'm going to just go with I'm gonna start with Steve Trevor. Okay, I'm gonna start with the Steve Trevor.
That's my next one. So that's perfect.
So Steve Trevor returning inside the body of another man was weird. Weird.
I didn't like it either.
Weird. It was weird for a couple reasons. Number one, when everyone else made their wish, they physically got what they wished for. So why did Diana get just Steve's conscious in another man?
Exactly. Now, my theory on this was because Steve Trevor died 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was that concern that all of a sudden Steve Trevor would just show up. Like if they would have explained that, I might have been a little bit more forgiving. I just felt like they made it too convoluted because you're right. Like everyone literally got what they wanted like that. I mean, hell, the one dude half-assed wished for a coffee.
Yeah.
He got it like instantly.
Yeah. Here's your coffee.
So instead we've got, Steve Trevor in some dude, and it's not even like a random like dude that was created for the purpose of this wish. They hijacked a dude's body, you know?
And that's the other thing. Like the hijacking of a body. The fact that they're just all right with taking over this other guy's life. This guy could have family, friends, and you're just...
No one's weirded out by it at all.
And I mean, like... It was so out of character for both Steve and Diana to do something like that. Because it's so selfish. It's so selfish.
Exactly. And
they're cool with it. They're just like, they're walking around going, oh, this guy's got nice pictures. Oh, look at his clothes. And like, and they're just cool with it. And then she fucks him like in this other dude.
The other part, now, admittedly, I did not make the rape connotations at all. I didn't think of it in those contexts and stuff like that. But there is definitely like, you read enough reviews and that's one of the big glaring issues. And I was like, oh, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Because of course, we're talking about forcefully hijacking this dude's body.
Yeah.
Now, let's hope he has no recollection. I know at the end they hint that he doesn't at all. But so now we've got a consent issue, which is a rape issue, right?
Yeah.
So I never made those connotations, but I totally understand it. And I totally get the concern for it. Which it's really surprising too, because like 1/3 of the writing staff is a woman. Mm-hmm. The director was a woman or is a woman, in fact, the screenplay or the story idea was literally Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins. So at some point this idea came up and nobody sat there and went, ugh. Like even the fact that they had that cutesy exchange at the end and the guy is literally cast as the handsome man. He doesn't get a fucking name. He just gets handsome man.
It was a hallmark moment, that ending.
Yeah, we're like, they're having this conversation and they're almost hinting that there's a possibility that, Diana will hook up with him in some way, shape, or form. And it's just like, that doesn't make it okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't, and like that was one of the things, like I was glad to see Steve Trevor back in a way that made sense. But immediately once I realized that it was just some other dude's body, I was like, I don't like this. It's dumb. It was too much. It didn't need to be that.
No.
He could have just been like, if anyone said, hey, you look a lot like this guy in this picture, Steve Trevor, and he could say, yeah, that's because that's my great grandfather.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done anything. Like, I don't know, maybe they were thinking like, well, how are we going to bring him back physically? What if she went and looked at her photo of them all together from the first movie and Steve's not in the photo anymore? What if he's gone from the photo?
Yeah. Although I mean, that's a better idea than what we got, but I still wouldn't like that idea either.
No, but it's better than just
but I get
out of his grave, you know what I mean?
Like I said, like it is better than what we got. But I agree with you right away. They could have just had him just come into being and that's it.
So like Steve Trevor is the big one in the movie where it's like, it's a plus, but it's also a big negative. Like so many of the problems of the movie come from his return.
Yeah, exactly. So my next one is in the mall scene. Yeah, she takes out the cameras to hide her existence. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. That totally tracks. As long as you don't think about the countless people who continuously see her in her Wonder Woman armor throughout the movie. not just in the mall sequence. Yeah, she shushed the girl, and of course the girl isn't going to say anything because it's kind of that same scene like in Spider-Man 2 when Peter Parker is maskless on the subway, and the kids are like, they give him his mask, and they're like, "We'll never tell." That's fine. That's totally fine. I'm okay with it. But everyone else in the mall is going to suddenly forget that she was wearing borderline the American flag as a costume.
Yep.
You know, so it's like, yeah, they made a point of saying, "Oh no, she took out all the cameras," but if she really did not want to be seen, or they didn't want anyone to make any connections to some of the 2 or 3 pictures that are floating around of her from World War I, why wouldn't she just wear a mask and a full bodysuit? You know, all black or whatever. I mean, hell, it could have been like in that, what was it, the 70s era of the comic book where she had no powers. It was just martial arts, and she had that like white jumpsuit type of thing. They could have just threw a mask on that, and that would have been, you know,
something. And yeah, it's funny you're bringing this up because this was actually my next point. Is that I you know what, the stuff with the mall and the few appearances she makes in her Wonder Woman gear to other people. Okay, like again, in the 80s, there was really no way to like capture these moments unless there was a photographer there ready to rock.
Or a camera of any, like a video camera of any way, shape, or
But the
form.
White House part, man. The fact that Wonder Woman was in the White House.
Yep.
So many plot holes for the rest of the series. Like Batman versus Superman, Bruce Wayne not knowing she fucking exists when she was in the White House in the 80s when he was alive. Like, come on.
That's literally my next point. That's my next point.
You know?
Yep.
So like, again, the White House is another one of the pro cons because it's a great moment between her and Cheetah and that humanity that she feels that she's disappointed and she's hurt and having to think like, maybe I have to get rid of Steve. Like all of the character moments in that are so good, but the fact that it's happening in the White House is fucking stupid.
I mean, again, like I get it. It makes sense because Max Lord is using the camera to grant all the wishes to the world. So she has to appeal to everybody in this way. But again, it's the same thing in the mall. Like it's a really cool, awesome idea until you really think about it. Because like I love that she appealed to humanity, and humanity overall was like, you know what, yeah, and they all renounced their wishes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they all renounced their wishes, but it doesn't change the fact that, like you said, she was on camera. So the entire world is now aware that this woman who, you know, reports have been talking about for a little while now in Washington, D.C., you know, and in and around that area.
Yeah.
Well, now she's out there, and I literally have it, and there's no mention of it in Batman v Superman. There's no mention of it in Justice League. There's no like, oh, hey, didn't I see you in the 80s? What have you been doing since the 80s, you know? So it's like, I know that DC really is doing this thing where the main DCEU is going to be just like they're doing now. So Shazam and Aquaman and Wonder Woman, there's links to the other movies, but they're not like Captain America, the Winter Soldier, how it bleeds into Age of Ultron, and all those movies kind of bleed in and bleed out, and where you don't necessarily have to watch those movies, but it actually adds to the whole picture when you do. Now they're just kind of picking and choosing what they want to reference, which I'm fine with as long as it's not dumb and doesn't make me go like, well, how the fuck? How is it a big shock when he gets the disk drive and finds out that Wonder Woman's been around since the 20s?
Yeah.
And yet also in the 80s, right? So it's just like,
And I mean, and like another thing is like, she made the jet go invisible. She knows the power to make things visible. Why does she not hide herself in public? Am I right? She could hide herself in public.
Well, remember, the only time she did it prior to that, it was a coffee cup.
Right.
And then she lost it.
Right. So she went from a coffee cup to a jet. That's a big step.
Yeah. So again, ultimately what this movie is, it's a really good movie as long as you don't think about it.
Exactly.
And that's the problem I'm having. So like, even as I was reviewing this to myself, I was like, wait a minute, I have way more dislikes than I thought, because, you know, there's a lot of, that was really cool, but
right. And it's not, you know, like, it's not a bad movie. It's not. I'm not one of those DC haters, you know, like, as far as I'm concerned, the MCU has just as many movies with failure, like bad plot holes and shit, as this one does. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's hard.
I noticed.
It's hard. And especially, like, I just watched the first the night before this. To me, the first is a perfect superhero movie. Perfect.
Oh, it's so good.
Perfect.
It's so good.
So,
it's so good.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is my next one. It's I actually kind of wish that the final battles were reversed, so that the Max Lord, the, you know, appealing to human nature, that whole thing, that's first, and then it leads into the battle with Cheetah. And then it actually, when I was thinking about it today, I was like, oh, so it's like the final battle between Green Goblin and Spider-Man in the first Spider-Man movie, where it's intimate, it's just the two of them, it's not in front of the whole city or in front of the entire globe. It's so, I don't know, I feel like that would have also, you could have lengthened the fight a bit more, you know?
You know what? That's a great idea. If they would have reversed it, because it could have been like everyone's revoking their wish except Barbara.
Right, because like,
you know, so Wonder Woman could be fighting her, going, revoke it, like the whole time, you know, like,
just renounce your wish, like, please, you're better than this.
Finally, you know, she submits, she finally revokes in the end, like,
or doesn't, and Diana's got to put her down hard, or something happens and then Cheetah gets away, because that's they don't really give you an idea as to why Cheetah would have renounced her wish. They just show her back as Barbara.
Yeah.
And there's nothing leading up to that point that would make you think she would have renounced her wish. You know? I mean, she literally made herself stronger to prevent Diana from stopping Max from doing this, because she didn't want to change back. She liked how she was. So I think, I mean, your way where she does ultimately renounce, that could work. I don't know if I would have. I know that I would have preferred her to kind of be out there type of thing, because, I mean, maybe it's just because I've read comic books my entire life, but like, they're so quick to get rid of these bad guys. Like, in some cases, like Thanos has to be killed, right?
Yeah.
You know, but Ultron didn't have to be completely wiped out. I know you could argue there's a way for him to have figured it out. We just don't know it yet. But Ultron didn't have to be knocked out completely, right?
Right.
Red Skull could have showed up in any other iteration before Endgame, even though the Endgame stuff was awesome. You know, so they get rid of these characters so easily that it's just like, really?
Yeah, it's sad.
Like, look at Spider-Man.
They want
Spider-Man's two villains are still alive.
Yeah, they want the universe to go on forever, but they're wiping out the villains. Like, there's only a limited amount of really good villains. Yeah,
exactly.
Every character has like 20 villains or whatever, but there's a very small handful that are really good, powerful villains.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, you don't want to constantly reuse the same three villains, you know, but at the same time, keep that in your back pocket, because, I mean, eventually, like I said, like, luckily Spider-Man, you know, Vulture's still alive. You know, we've got hints of Scorpion, obviously.
Yeah.
We haven't really confirmed that Mysterio's dead, you know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they killed everyone off, what's Spider-Man going to fight next? Paste Pot Pete? Like, really? Like, this is, so it's just like, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought that the switch would have been really cool, because you still have the impactful, beautiful moment where ultimately humanity, much like 70% of America rejected Donald Trump. You know, they renounce the wishes. And then you have that intimate fight where maybe she does renounce, maybe she doesn't, right? And also, getting back to I hated how the wish didn't change everything back to normal.
Yeah.
You know? So again, getting back to, so regardless of Wonder Woman, let's say for whatever reason, nobody saw Wonder Woman on camera. Nobody knew it was Wonder Woman. And all those instances where she's seen by, some cases, hundreds of people, they all just kind of collectively forgot for whatever reason. There's still the ramifications of, like in Egypt, there was an entire wall created.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It didn't just disappear, it just crumbled. So now there's a clear indication that there was a wall made, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that, like, the entire world is essentially in disarray because everyone was getting wishes. But then all of a sudden they lose their wishes, but everything still stays the same. So there's still that aftermath that again goes, well, how come that isn't even brought up in any of these other movies?
Well, exactly. Like, to me, Lex Luthor's got this thing on for Superman because he's this god, like this other worldly being. This shouldn't be a surprise to you if fucking walls were appearing in the 80s and disappearing and fucking everything was going crazy. Like,
yeah,
there's nutty shit out there, Lex. I mean, like, this dude flying around
exactly.
in blue is not a big deal.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
Like, this movie being in the 80s and having such an audience, like the whole world watching, really puts the future movies, like the past movies that we've seen, in a really garbage position. Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. So again, it's really cool as long as you don't think about it.
Exactly. Like, if it was taking place in the current time, A-okay, right on. Like, maybe they should have saved Max Lord for the third Wonder Woman, you know, and made this smaller thing with Cheetah.
Exactly. Like, and that's the really good point. Maybe build up so Cheetah's ultimately the big bad, and then maybe have like another like minor villain in between to kind of get her to that point, right? Yeah. Because then the stuff with Diana and Barbara, I think, would have been more impactful too, because they would have had half a movie to become better friends, right?
Yeah.
So that if she does renounce, then it's a very like feel good moment. But if she doesn't renounce, it's actually kind of heartbreaking, because while Diana ultimately saves the world, she couldn't save her best friend.
Exactly.
Right? So it's just like, oh, okay. All right. This one is just one of those, like, yeah, of course. But Michelle and I both eye rolled when Diana and Steve managed to break into the airport. I mean, it's the 80s, right? So I even said that. I said that a couple of times throughout the movie. I was like, well, it's the 80s, right? So not a lot of security, but it's still just like, okay. So then they managed to find a plane that has a full tank of gas. That's not locked up in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And Steve Trevor is able to fucking fly this thing with a 60-year window in between flying planes, you know? And it's literally like, I don't know if I can click. Yep, I got this. Boof, let's go. Like, what the? So it's, like, immediately I was like, oh, geez. And it actually kind of reminded me of, remember in Winter Soldier where Nat and Steve steal a truck?
Yep.
And Nat makes that comment. She's like, I didn't know Captain America knew how to hotwire a vehicle. And he goes, yeah, well, we had to steal Nazi vehicles or whatever. And they kind of just throw it away. Like, it's a quick comment type of thing. And I was reminded of this because I remember thinking at the time, I was like, oh, that's kind of neat that wait, hold on. You could hotwire vehicles in fucking World War II. That doesn't mean you can hotwire vehicles in 2015 or when that movie came. It was 2015? Right. Regardless.
Yeah. 13.
We'll say 2013 to 2016. We'll give that buffer. But regardless, it's not going to be just as simple as him going like, just like in the 40s.
No big deal, eh? Maybe they're all in the Matrix and they're all like, hey, teach me this.
Right.
I know how to fly this plane.
At least that was like a quick scene, they're in the car for 30 seconds, maybe a minute, right? This was an entire, like, we have to fly to Egypt. So the tank of gas is full so they can get to Egypt, right? It does lend into the fireworks scene, which is gorgeous, but it's like, okay, all right. What else you got?
Okay, so my next big one. You know what? Maybe should I do the big one right now, or just a few little things?
Save the big one for last,
Let's do
bro.
the big one. Okay, so simple one. I miss the sword. I miss the sword and shield. I dig the whip, but the whip being 100% exclusive in this.
Lasso.
The lasso. Yeah, the lasso. Still, I really miss. And again, this is because I just watched the first movie the night before, and she's awesome with the sword.
It's not because of that, because I had the same thought in my head. I was like, it was disappointing to not see her with the sword and shield. Now, in certain contexts, I understood. In the mall scene,
yeah,
there's no need for the sword and shield because she's fighting regular people.
Yeah.
And I guess because the Gold Eagle armor was in play, there was no need for her to have a sword and shield to fight Cheetah. But she could have had the sword and shield in Egypt when she was basically fighting whatever that military troop that Lord had bartered for. But yeah, it was a missed opportunity. It also ties into one thing that I and Michelle had said this too, and I was I kind of played it off at first, but the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, actually, she was totally right. Luckily, she doesn't watch too much of these videos. She doesn't know that I said she was right. But I liked how they started to tease her theme song throughout the movie. But it was disappointing that at no point in time did we get the full-on like tribal drums, like that whole like like when you saw that trailer in Batman v Superman and they had that thing playing, you were like, holy fuck. You know, and every time she's like, even in Wonder Woman, they build it up, and then when you finally get it, you're like, holy fuck. They didn't have that, and it was disappointing. It came close.
I also have that written down. And it's funny, Adrian felt the same way. We watched all the end credits right to the very end, and at the very end, screen's black, everything's over. She went, they didn't play the theme.
Exactly.
Because
Michelle said the same thing.
That theme is fucking powerful. It's
awesome. It is so powerful.
Good. And I mean, like you said, they kind of like sneak little bits of it in here and there.
Little bits,
but it's never
builds. It builds, but then it doesn't get to that point.
Never there.
And it's awesome because it's iconic, and it's also it suits her character so well.
Yeah, but I mean, like, exactly. But it's ironic though too, because the first Wonder Woman was Rupert Gregson Williams. Amazing score. He didn't come back to this for some reason. Hans Zimmer came back. He came out of superhero retirement again for this. It's ironic that the guy that wrote the theme for Batman versus Superman didn't put it in here.
It blew me away. I actually was surprised when I saw. I said to Michelle, I went, "Oh, Hans Zimmer's doing the soundtrack." She's like, "Oh, Hans Zimmer." I'm like, he's done a bunch of the soundtracks for.
He's good.
For the Superman stuff, but I agree completely. Like, you're right. Ironic is the word, that he's the guy that created that, and then they didn't use it.
So, yeah. I'm gonna touch quickly on the Golden Eagle armor. Okay.
I'm gonna just jump in real quick.
Okay. Actually, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save it for the end here.
Getting back to Cheetah real quick. I was surprised and also disappointed that Cheetah renounced her wish to be an apex predator.
Yeah.
With no explanation, no real reasoning behind it. They just kind of quick show her and she's back to being Barbara, and I was like,
She never said it though. They don't show her saying it.
But she's not Cheetah at the end of the movie. I mean, unless it's one of those where it's a byproduct where, because Max Lord renounced his wishes, but it's still just like, unless it's one of those where they use it to bring her back for the third because she was so well received, so she spends most of the third movie, or maybe a good chunk of the first 40 minutes or so, trying to get that back, then maybe, because that's similar to how her character's in the comic books, but
all I know is I love Cheetah, and I think she got ripped in this movie.
Yeah. So ultimately, I'll say mine real quick. This is my last point of this whole movie, and then it's you, and you can steal the show. So overall, while I liked the movie, I actually really did enjoy the movie. I keep going back to that. As long as I don't think about it, I really enjoyed the movie. Mm-hmm. So I liked it, even though it felt rushed. It was sloppily pieced together. I really, really hope that the third movie is as good or better than the first.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's where I'm at.
The movie was too long and needed a way tighter edit.
You know what? If even the length of time wouldn't have been so bad if it didn't meander as much.
That's the thing. Like, I felt it. I felt it. I could do a 2.5-hour movie, no problem. As long as I don't feel it. Halfway through the movie, I was feeling that little bit of, like, I shut my phone off and I was feeling that urge to turn my phone back on. Just say that. So, okay, so here's the final thing, and this is a big thing. There's too much Max Lord in this. And I know it's good to flesh out villains. I like it when villains are fleshed out. But there was too much of him in it. I felt like Diana's story was constantly put on pause to show shit with him that I really didn't give a fuck about. Like,
yeah, that's right. I never even thought of that. Yeah.
And how they're doing for oil and stuff. Like, I didn't care. Like, one of the special things about the first is you never leave Diana's side throughout the whole thing.
That's right, actually.
You're with her the entire time.
That's right.
So with this, to have her story constantly paused, to flip over to Max Lord, like, yeah, you got to flesh him out a bit, because otherwise he's just a one-note villain and it's boring. But it was too much. There was too much Max Lord.
It's like watching the 1989 Batman. It's called Batman,
it's
actually a Joker movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I never even thought of that, and you're totally correct. Totally correct.
And like, another thing with there being too much Max is I found there wasn't enough Cheetah. They underplayed her completely to secondary villain status, and it was so uncool because I was pumped for Cheetah. Like, after the first movie, I was like, oh, I hope they do Cheetah in the sequel. And then they announced they're doing Cheetah, and I'm like, yes! And what we get is a 2 to 3, 4 minute Cheetah fight at the very end, like in full Cheetah form, and that's it.
Right. It's kind of like Spider-Man 3 with Venom. Just kind of like immediately thrown in at the end, and then it's like big battle, and then that's it. And you're just like, wow, okay, all right. So especially because, like I was alluding to with Cheetah, because, you know, in this version, it works better if they're best friends. You know, it's kind of like Wonder Woman, right? So in Wonder Woman, she's essentially with Steve Trevor for about a week, right?
Yeah.
She's so, like, brokenhearted about this guy that she's only known for a week, that she spends like 80 years essentially just not trying to see anyone else because nobody can measure up to the guy that she's only known for a week. So now you're supposed to really feel for this relationship that Cheetah and Wonder Woman have, but it's not as impactful because they were friends for 2 seconds.
Right. And
2 minutes of actual, like, screen time where they were bonding, and then it immediately gets into she's starting to become Cheetah.
Yeah.
And then that's that. And then, of course, yeah, you're right. Max Lord dominates this fucking movie.
He dominates it. And that's the thing. Like, if they would have pushed Max Lord to the third movie, keep him out of this 100%. Make this like a lower key. It could have been a 2-hour movie, a tight 2-hour movie with Diana and Barbara being friends, being enemies. Diana not giving up on her in the end. You know, don't have Steve in this at all. Cut the Dreamstone out. Don't have Steve in it at all. Have Steve also come back in that third one with Max Lord. Because, again, for her to just, like, be good with Steve being gone now, like, obviously she's not good, but she's smiling and everything at the end. So why 30 years after this, she's talking to Bruce about Steve and him bringing her a picture and go, oh, my picture.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. He should have came back after Batman versus Superman. She should have fought Max Lord in the third movie.
I actually 100% agree. 100% agree. I think you're totally right. Especially because, well, like you said, well, now we've got an entire 2 hours to build up the relationship between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, you can even bring back Dr. Poison from the first movie.
Right. I mean,
it doesn't even. She can do the same thing she did in the first movie. Show up.
Yeah.
Be a little bit of an adversary for Diana, and it could even be something as simple as, like, Diana's like, wrecking her experiments, and then finds out that she's like geriatric.
She would have been a great opening villain. Like
right, exactly.
Like,
and even like maybe she helps to change Cheetah so that it leads into the final battle.
Like she was making those drugs and shit for the German dude in the first movie, making them all super powerful and crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't she still be alive 60 years? Like have her older. Don't have her young in the first movie. But what if she, like, the movie starts with Diana capturing her after all these years of trying to find Dr. Poison, and then Barbara finds out about Dr. Poison, and you're right, she could have got her Cheetah powers from Dr. Poison.
Or like leading into it, like,
yeah,
because like I like that there was a mysticism to Cheetah's powers, and I also like that in most versions of her character, how it's like a mysticism thing, because again, we're looking at ideally like that flip side of the coin for Diana, right?
Yeah.
So Diana's flip is Cheetah, right? Superman's, strangely enough, is Lex Luthor, but still, you got Batman and Joker. They're two sides of the same coin, and it works really well. So I feel like she'd almost have to be a mystic. But I mean, if it was entirely science and it made sense, then I wouldn't complain. But yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So now the final thing I'm going to mention is the armor. The foreshadowing and everything with the armor was cool. The little backstory thing, like what she held off hundreds and hundreds of men. Okay, so Dan is losing her powers, obviously losing her powers. Why is she not wearing the fucking armor in the White House scene? Why is she rocking it after getting her powers back? It makes no goddamn sense at all.
Yeah.
She learns how to fly. Now she's got a fucking armor suit with wings. Who gives a shit? She can fly now. Like, it made no sense bringing that in at the end of the movie. No sense.
That's right. I forgot to put that on there because I remember I'm with you where I liked the visual, I liked the setup, but I also didn't like how quickly it was dismantled.
Yeah. Like Cheetah rips it to shit. She should have worn that to protect herself during the scenes where she was losing her powers. It could have still got destroyed by Cheetah in the White House.
But at that point, she's already full powered anyway.
Bring back the sword and shield for the final fight, blocking Cheetah with the shield. That would have been fucking badass.
Maybe cut a bit of her tail off, so there's that remnants of like, oh, I'm gonna get you, Diana, just something. But yeah, no,
it cuts off one of her like fingernails or something, like
just something. I agree.
Like that would have been a lot more epic. The armor was useless. It was a cool visual, and that was it. It was fucking pointless.
Yeah, which unfortunately a lot of this movie is a cool visual.
A cool visual, yeah. They were too worried about the cool visuals, and then they fucking still fail on that.
Yeah. You know, and it's like Wonder Woman is really a simple movie. It's, you know, it's that what is it? That Heart of Darkness that Joseph Conrad, like the journey of the hero. She, leaves her island. She journeys to the world of man. She becomes more informed of the world around her and becomes a better person because of that.
Yeah.
And then in this one, just stuff happens and it looks really cool. And again, my main point is that, like I said, while I love this movie, I like it as long as I don't think about it. If I just watch it and turn my brain off, then it's great and it's enjoyable. Sometimes I can't turn my brain off as much as I'd like.
Yeah.
But,
it's not a bad movie. It's a fun movie. It's got lots of great moments.
Here's the question. This is the question right here.
Yeah.
2 parts. Is it a purchase? Would you rewatch it?
It's probably going to be a purchase because I love Wonder Woman. We've talked about in the past how, like, you got the Trinity. Like, Wonder Woman's always been my favorite in the Trinity in the DC universe.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I actually thought you were a Batman guy.
No, I mean, Batman's sweet, but I love the Greek mythology. I love Greek mythology. So the whole backstory of Wonder Woman.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's great. So I've always loved Wonder Woman. Like, I literally today just picked up I with my Christmas bonus and my 20% off birthday coupon for Indigo. I picked up the Absolute Wonder Woman by Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chiang because it's an amazing story. It's probably the best Wonder Woman I've ever read.
You should also check out the Earth 1 Wonder Womans by Grant Morrison. And
I haven't checked out the Earth 1 yet. I felt behind on the Earth 1 stuff. I read the first 3 Supermans, and I've only read the one Batman. I haven't even read the second Batman yet. So
Yeah, I've read all of them now. No, wait, that's not true. I have not read all of them because I didn't read the Green Lantern, nor did I read Titans.
Yeah, the Titans one was weird to me. I didn't feel like that needed an Earth one.
Yeah. Plus, it didn't have Robin in it or Dick Grayson.
Yeah,
and it's always like, what? How do you do Teen Titans without Dick Grayson? It's not even that. It's just like realistically, the Titans started because Speedy, Wonder Girl, or no, it's it was Robin, Wonder Girl, Aqualad, and Speedy. Those were the ones that were like they were the original Teen Titans. So it's like, I don't know if. I mean, granted, they used the more popular version of the new Teen Titans, but and Green Lantern, that was one of those where I'm like, how much different could they make it? Really?
Yeah.
You know? It's kind of the way I felt with Batman, where it's like, how much different could they really make Batman? And all they really did was they made
it changed
Alfred.
Yeah.
Alfred is like fucking like Secret Service, like Navy or British SOS guy or whatever. Like he's definitely killed some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's looked like they made him look like he might have drank some blood a little bit here and there. But then the only other change was with Batman, where they just kind of made him sloppier.
Yeah.
Well,
because of that vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so overall.
Anyway, I'll likely buy it because I find that I'm not going to rewatch this as much as Wonder Woman, the first one, and I'm
in the same boat.
I'm not going to rewatch it as much as Man of Steel or BVS.
I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to rewatch it, but it's not high up on the rewatch list as the other ones.
The things I do love in it, I'll want to revisit that.
Yep.
Like I don't want to buy Shazam. I don't want to buy Birds of Prey. 84, I will watch again.
Actually, it's funny, because I feel the same way. I remember originally I was saying I would probably buy Shazam, but no.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy Shazam, and definitely not Birds of Prey. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm totally out of the whole completionist thought process. Like, Marvel movies, like I got all the phases because of the story, but I mean, there's movies in there that I don't really love. I just have because I want the full set. I'm not going to do that anymore.
I got you.
If Shang-Chi sucks, I'm not going to buy Shang-Chi. If Eternal sucks, I'm not.
Exactly. So basically, all I can say, Geek Panthers, is let us know what you think. Did you like Wonder Woman 84? Did you not like it? What were things that you did like? What were things you didn't like? If you have any other thoughts on how they could do the movie, make it better, let us know.
Yeah, give us your idea of the perfect Wonder Woman sequel. Or if this was the perfect for you, just let us know.
Yeah, tell us exactly why, too. And maybe, just maybe, we'll read that on a next Camcast.
Maybe. Yeah,
if somebody writes a comment, if somebody writes a fucking comment, we'll read it.
Yeah.
At that stage,
what else
we'll fucking read it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ken.
Want me to take it?
Anyway, Ken.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. You can check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can listen to this as a podcast on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. If you're watching us today on YouTube, well, hey, you get to see our faces, our handsome faces. And then geekpantsmedia.com, our little blog. We got all our videos there. You can watch it off there instead of going to YouTube. You can also read a bunch of cool stuff. Chris Fedek is posting there all the time, which is great because that's pretty much your only dose of Fedek you're getting these days.
That's right. That's right.
Water with COVID. So
that's right. Yeah. Also, I'm pretty much going to say this, but Fedek is single-handedly keeping that website in action.
Yeah, I touch base every now and then, but I'm really happy when I get that email saying Chris Fedek's posted. I'm like, yeah, check it out. His whole thing the other week there about the planets aligning and stuff. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, super cool.
And the description and everything, like he's a different geek than us, but he's a geek, hands down.
Yeah, he's on a whole other level. Level. Yeah, that's right. That's it. As always, thanks so much, Geek Pantsers. We really appreciate it.
Adios.